So this was the last page. And both these problems had to do with transformations of functions in the graphs, Um, so right here, this function is an absolute value function. You can tell because it has absolute value lines here. So the normal absolute value function, uh, it just is like a V shape. And I just graph it as a reference here. It's not the answer. But some people did that on their tests. So that's what the normal one looks like. Just your library of functions, that's what the function looks like, a V shape with those straight lines. Now we have to look at the transformations. So it does reflect about, because it's negative, it reflects about the x-axis. So it's going to be upside down, okay? That's going to be the reflection. And then it's going to get multiplied by 2. So it's going to be steeper, okay? Um, we can do a table of values. I think I did that on the answer key. I'll have to post the answer key too. Hopefully I'll remember. So you can see that as well. So we can do a table of values to get those points if you're not familiar with how to do that. And then it's also going to shift 2 to the right, 2 right, and 1 down. Okay, so my origin here, my 0, 0 point, the bottom of that V, is now going to be the top of the V, but it's going to be 2 over to the right and 1 down, so it's going to be right there. And then instead of having a point right here, I'm going to multiply that output of 1 by 2, so it's actually going to be here. And then there'll be another one over here, and then this one will be 2 more, that one. So it's going to look like that. And a lot of times it depends on the function, but you may say, well, I'm not exactly sure how you got that point at 1, negative 3. You could plug in values. So look at your x values here. You've got 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So just plug them in. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. And when you plug in 0, you'd have, well, I'm going to run out of room, but negative 2 times 0 minus 2 minus 1. So that would be negative 2 times the absolute value of negative 2 minus 1, or negative 2 times 2. Absolute value of negative 2 is 2 minus 1. So it's going to be negative 4 minus 1, which is negative 5. Sure enough, negative 5. And then I kind of ran out of room, but if you put in the 1, you're going to get negative 3. And if you put in 2, you're going to get negative 1. And if you put in 3, you're going to get negative 3. And if you put in 4, you're going to get that negative 5. But you'd have to do all that work, or you could do all that work. I'll just show you this one. I have a little room here. So it'd be negative 2, absolute value 0 minus 1, minus 1. Negative 2 times the absolute value of negative 1 minus 1, which is going to be negative 2 times 1, because the absolute value of negative 1 is 1, minus 1. It's going to be negative 2 minus 1, which is negative 3. And they're all going to work like that table of values shows. Okay, probably more. There was some room. More information than you wanted to know. Okay, so this one's a little bit different. They didn't actually tell us the function, they just represent it as f of x. And then they have g of x in terms of f of x. So what's happening? What is the 3 doing to the function? What is the 7 doing? What is the 8 doing? So it says, what is the horizontal shift and in which direction? It comes from the 7, and it's going to be 7 to the left. Okay? Because our thing says f of x minus h, I think we use h or c, whatever it is, but that's, you have x plus 7, so your h is negative 7, which means it's going to, that's the horizontal shift, it's going to go negative 7, 7 to the left. Okay, the vertical shift is going to come from that negative 8, so it's going to be 8 down. And then, is there a vertical stretch or shrink, and by how much? The 3, that is a stretch. And you can just put a stretch of 3. That's fine. So you're multiplying those outputs by 3. And then finally, is there a reflection? No, there's no reflection. You'd have to have a negative either on the 3 to get it to reflect about the x-axis, or a negative on the x to get it to reflect about the y-axis. But isn't a reflection here. So that was the quiz. I hope those answers help. We'll do more with transformations.